You are 9 years old, practically grown up. You are an Uldruk, which some people might call an ogre, and you belong to the clan of the Long Night. You live at World's Edge, not on land, but on ice, just at the edge, so you can always keep that trickster ocean in sight. It is always cold at World's Edge, often snowy, rarely sunny, always freezing. But you are an Uldruk, and Uldruk don't mind the cold. Your hide is thick and gray like living stone. Your eyes are white like newborn snow. Your hair is dense and coarse like oxlin. You are a child of survival and extremes. But you shall be child no more, for tomorrow begins longest night. Kuplini gathers you and your fellow ogrelings into their tent, where the tools of longest night have been set out. Firebowl, waterskin, club. You have seen and used all these tools before. Firebowl holds oil for fire, preferably steel, used for cooking, lighting, and warmth. Very important. Waterskin holds liquid, preferably blood, which is more nutritious than water. Also very important. Club, made from garp whale rib, used for hunting. The most important. You have heard Kuplini and other clansfolk speak of these tools and their meanings 1,000 times. But still, Kuplini asks you to recite. Firebowl, gift of Goldretin, the bright being, the dual high of warmth, of light, of life. Waterskin, gift of Irdorheim, whose name means blood outside body. Dual high of healing, stories, and birth. The club, gift of Bulrodin, the dark cloak. Dual high of death, master of all. Kuplini gestures for you and the other ogrelings to gather your tools, which you do, picking out what you think are the best of the bunch and stuffing them into your sealskin sack. There are 8 of every tool, since there are 8 of you this year, not the normal 2 or 3, which means that the hunts must have been bountiful the year you were all born. When the tool picking and fighting and stuffing is over, Kuplini says, "These gifts are yours now. They are your path to survival, to earning your name and your place in our clan. None of you will return as the person you are now. Many of you will not return at all. I do not send you with any wishes. I do not send you with any hope. The only thing I shall give you besides these 3 gifts is a lesson. You cannot run from the dark." The next morning is not morning. It is a humorous suggestion of morning. A dawn that pulled the bedroll over its head and said, "No, thank you, I'd like to keep sleeping." You can see, just barely, you think probably, maybe yes, but the sky is slightly bluer than black somewhere off to the northeast. Your last sure meal sits heavy in your stomach, as garp whale usually does. You take note of the position of the stars, the direction of the wind. You clutch your sealskin sack to your chest as one of the adults wraps a fur around your eyes and nudges you onto a sledge. You feel the sledge jolt and slide as your sender kicks you both along. You feel small flakes of ice ping against your wind-worn cheeks as you scoot forward. Northeast, you think. Turn. Now north. Turn. Northwest. Turn. West-west? Turn. West-north? Oh no. Several hours pass. You have no idea where you are when the sledge stops. Your sender lifts you off the sledge and says, "Walk 1,000 paces, then remove the fold." Sounds like Zeki's voice. Footsteps as the sender returns to their sledge. Footsteps as you walk away. 1, 2, 3, 4. You hear the sledge turn to drive back to camp, but before it kicks off, the sender says, "Good luck." It must be Zeke. Only an adherent of Goldretin the Bright would say something as soft-hearted as that. 5, 6, 7, 8. When you take off your blindfold, it is unsurprisingly dark, but not completely consumingly dark. The stars are visible, for one thing. You easily find Bulrodin's Raven, which at least tells you where south is. And you feel for the breeze, which is coming from the east, so you can somewhere guess what home is. You relax a little. That's a pretty good start, all things considered. Your birth parent once told you the tale of their longest night, which began in a blizzard and ended in a blizzard. They were the only youngling to survive that year, and were named Huatam, Flameheart, because of it. How they survived 7 days of blizzards and got home without sight of the stars, you will never understand. Thinking of your parent brings you great courage. You are the child of Huatam, after all. The Flameheart. Their hot blood runs through your veins. And then thinking of your parent brings you great sorrow. Because you look around you, and you see nothing but the frozen wastes of the southern wilds. And you remember that you must stay out here until light returns in 7 days. And that all you have with you is a bowl, a water skin, a club, your sack, and your clothes. And there is always a chance that you will walk not back to your home, but into the arms of Bulrodin, never to see your parent again. For that is the way of longest night. But you do not let sorrow linger. Sorrow is a poison, as Kuplini says, that can bring the strongest Uldruk to their knees. You can't afford to be poisoned right now. So you rise, for you were indeed on your knees, kneeling in the snow, and you begin to plan out your longest night. It is not uncommon for yearlings to try to follow their own tracks back home, if the tracks are visible, and linger on the outskirts of camp for the remainder of their time. There are some who look down upon this as cheating, but every elder you've asked has told you that it is impossible to cheat death. Either you die, or you don't. Simple as that. Bulrodin won't hold it against you. Some years, like the year your parent had their longest night, such a tactic was impossible, for all tracks were swept away as soon as they were made. But that is not the case for you. So you follow your tracks for a while, and think of how you'll find food. You've heard stories of younglings who have made it through the longest night without eating, but they are rare. You don't want to risk rare. So you find a nice hole in the ice where seals or wagrock might surface. You also keep your eyes out for wilderbear tracks, but you aren't sure if you do that because you actually want to meet a wilderbear, or because you want to avoid one. The hide and meat of wilderbear would all but ensure your survival of the longest night, but it would come at the risk of being eaten yourself. Something to ponder for sure. You walk and rest, and walk and rest. You drink from your water skin, then pack it with fresh snow and tuck it inside your coat to melt. You feel the first bites of hunger. You consider making a snow shelter, but then you don't because it's not really that cold, is it? So you keep walking, following the tracks back southeast-ish towards home. Sky fire ripples green, purple, gold across the sky, and you stop for a moment to marvel at it. Even in the darkest dark, there is always cause to marvel. But then the breeze picks up, and you start feeling cold, and you notice you are tired. So you use your club and bowl to carve out a little cave in a snowdrift, and you nestle in all nice and snug like a little wilderbear, which you decide for the moment you do want to avoid. So you carve a little door for yourself, and eventually, excitedly, anxiously, fall asleep. When you wake, which frankly could be at any time of day, so let's just call it dark. When you wake at dark, you find that the wind has picked up, and has kicked millions and billions of ice crystals into the air, which swirl around like a fog, blotting out stars and sky. The sledge tracks are invisible. Your hands are invisible. The world is invisible. You feel a prickle of panic. If you can't see, how will you get home? How will you find a hole in the ice? If you don't find a hole in the ice, how will you find a seal or a wagrock? And if you don't find a seal or a wagrock, how will you have food or oil for a fire? And if you don't have food or oil for a fire, you'll starve or you'll freeze, probably both, and then you'll die and be a little ogre sickle and without a name in the middle of nowhere, and you gradually accept that you are going to die. It's terrifying at first. That full-blown body-clenching scream gets stuck in your throat because you couldn't possibly scream loud enough, kind of terrifying. So that's uncomfortable for a while. But eventually, the fear transforms, and you feel, what is it? What is that word? Courage? No. Joy. Oh, no, that's too romantic. Freedom? Freedom! Because you realize that if you don't fear death, you can't really fear anything. Death is kind of the big one. The first and final dread. And if you don't fear it, then, well, then what? There's nothing to lose, because nothing lasts. Life and time itself. So that feels nice. After that, nothing really phases you. You walk, you rest, you drink water, you melt more snow, the winds whip into a snowstorm and you make another cave. You still can't see the stars, so you're not sure how much time is passing, but that doesn't seem like an issue now. You'll get back if you get back. If you don't, you won't. You get up and keep walking through what you now acknowledge is a blizzard, and after a while decide to dig yet another snow cave and wait for it to let up. But it doesn't. You grow hungrier and hungrier until you feel your stomach biting at your ribs. You hold your sealskin sack and think, my, I have never seen such an appetizing satchel in all my life. But then the blizzard does let up, and you decide, oh, what the heck, let's give it another go. You keep walking south, with no sign of tracks or food or life in sight, and just as you're about to eat your very delicious sealskin sack, delirious beyond anything you've ever known, you see an enormous black bird flap great feathered wings against the darkness and land before you. For all your delirium, you know at once, this is Bulrodin, the elder raven, the dark cloak who is master of all, the Dulhai of death. They open their wings wide, ready to embrace you in their feather-soft darkness, and happily you walk towards them. Finally, the longest night is over. But just as you reach out to touch Bulrodin, you see a big fat Walgrog sleeping not 30 paces away, its pale blubbery hide glistening in the faint star twinkle. Instinctively, you reach for your club, but then you turn to Bulrodin. You realize you've been looking forward to their embrace. You feel a bit gypped. Bulrodin places a wing on your shoulder and turns you towards the Wogrok. You have learned that it is not bad to die. Now you must learn that it is not bad to live. When you return to your clan, you are greeted with great warmth and welcome. You were 2 days late, but that is no matter. The sun has returned, and so have you. You see a faint peach light glowing on the horizon, and take a deep breath. You share the remainder of your Walgrok meat with the clan, and one of the adherents of your Dorheim takes the pelt to transform it into a cape for you. You hear that only 3 of the others have returned so far, but you don't fear for them. You know Bulrodin watches over them. You share the story of your longest night with the whole clan, and when you are finished, Kuplini takes you by the shoulders and says, I name you Mari Go, fearless one, you who have passed through the womb of darkness and been transformed.